Hi, Shotzi here again, Andrew Shaw. Now the fifth installment of this Giraffe. See, I'm working on the sky a little bit. What I tend to do is tend to go from whatever's furthest away, which is actually higher up in the picture, is the sky, and then the distant mountains. I'll spend some time with them, just fine-tune them a little bit, getting some very faint ones in the distant backgrounds, just to add a little bit of depth. Then I move to this hill that's a little bit closer. I'm just trying to give it a little bit of texture, not too much because it should be a little bit blurry and unfocused because it's too far away to see any detail. And I work around the giraffe. It is negative space for the giraffe's neck. So I want to kind of come right up to the giraffe's neck, and sharpen that or harden that edge between the neck and the grass and the hills. Now here, sort of putting in some of these bushes, and there's a lot of little rocks or stones and stuff here. And as I always do, I move around from place to place. Don't spend too much time in any one place, but I am moving closer and trying not to fall into that trap of putting too much detail for something that's very far away. We can know that there's bushes and there's stones and rocks. That we can see, but we're not going to see individual stones so much or individual rocks. And I come with a little bit of dark actually here to just give a little bit more depth where those parts of the stones that are not getting any sun. Just adds a little to the reality. Trying to do mostly horizontal paint strokes. This ground is fairly flat. But again, because it's a little further away, I can take some liberties, and if I need to fill in little spaces like between the legs, I can use a vertical stroke. It's not going to make any difference. But just trying to give this is now more of a grass. We're not going to see individual blades, of course, just sort of large colors. Now I'm going to work on the foreground. I'm going to spend most of the rest of the time working on this foreground. Normally I would like to do more on the giraffe, but I'm just trying to use these as demonstrations. There, I guess I saw something in the distance and decided to go take a little break, address it. And here a lot of it in the close landscape, the close land that's right in front, there's a lot of play of dark and light. I'll have greater contrast as it's closer. Part of what we do is we sort of create an illusion of what's close and what's further away. Things that are further tend to be duller, more blurred, edges are softer. As you move closer, things are more vibrant, harder edges, and greater variability between dark and light. So just sort of almost randomly putting in some little sticks and little bushes and trying to mix it up with color as well. So I'm not completely stuck on one color. Here I'm moving in with this rock. I'm just sort of enhancing the dark parts, and I'll at some point probably enhance the light parts. Rocks tend to have very hard edges, and I'm going to definitely want a hard edge between that rock and the grass to create a sense of separateness. And there I'm using the grass a bit of negative space. By darkening it, it's hardening the edge of the rock and making it stand separate so that we know it's not grass, it's something different, and it's closer. And the beauty of these kinds of landscapes, unlike a portrait, is that there's so much freedom to be creative and just sort of fiddle around until it's pleasing to you to look at. There's really no accuracy needed. The main thing is I want it to be clear that this land is closer to the viewer. The distant mountains are very, very far. And that is where I focus on sharpness, a little more vibrancy in the colors. There you can see I'm just lightening the surface of the rock a little bit. It's catching more sun. Using a fairly fine brush, round detail brush. Just gives me a little bit more control. I don't want to give too much detail on the ground because the main focus is supposed to be the giraffe. I certainly want to have the giraffe anchored in something that seems real and fitting. But I don't want to make it too vibrant, too detailed, so it'll pull the viewer's eye away from the focal point, which is the giraffe. Now, normally, if I was continuing with this, I would spend definitely more time on the giraffe and fine tune, especially the giraffe's legs, which I think need work particularly. But this is really to demonstrate something a little different from the portraits I had done earlier, is the concept of area of focus and background, sometimes called figure ground. And the figure is clearly giraffe, and everything else is part of the background. But the background needs attention. And there I brighten the rocks even more as the catch sun, and creates even more separation of that rock from the grass right behind it. Now kind of randomly just picking little spots, a little brighter, where's sun catching. Little fine-tuning of the hooves of the giraffe, but not really spending too much time there. In fact, I'm mostly using negative space to try to shape those legs. Well, that's it for this fifth installment. I'm not sure I'll do any more in this painting, but I hope you stick around for what comes next. Thank you.